During these times of hardship, I found myself reverting to type. See, at my core, God made me a historian and a researcher, and I found myself wanting to know, has this level of threat impacted the church before? How did they handle it? And what I discovered encouraged me, and I hope it will encourage you. The early church suffered through disease, persecution, famine, fires, economic downfall, and war. Toward the end of the 2nd century, a mysterious epidemic broke out and swept across the Roman Empire. Today, many scholars believe this was an outbreak of smallpox. During the 15-year duration of the epidemic, it is estimated that 1/4 to 1/3 of the Roman Empire died from it. And this was not the last epidemic in the early church. But during these times, Christianity actually flourished while paganism declined. People were having a crisis of faith, and followers of Jesus had an opportunity to display their faith in Christ and offer hope and peace in a desperate and scary time. But that was way back before the church was forced to close its doors, right? Surely civic authority asking churches to suspend worship gatherings is a new thing. What is happening to us is unprecedented, right? Well, in 1918, various civic governments asked churches in America to temporarily not gather during the Spanish flu. Most churches acquiesced, though some did so begrudgingly. And for the most part, it worked. In cities that did not corporately meet together for worship, had significantly fewer cases of illness and death than in cities that ignored the recommendation. But what does that have to do with us now? How should we live? This is a time of fear and panic for our world. As followers of Christ, we have the opportunity to help those who are in need and share the gospel of peace. How should we help a world in panic? Well, we must remember what we know. 1, we live in a fallen and broken world. We know that things are not as they were intended to be. Paul says we know that the whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth, right up to the present time. 2, we trust in a loving and sovereign God. Despite having circumstances outside our control, we know that we follow a God who loves us and has a plan. As Job said, I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. 3, God is currently working towards His plan of eradicating all disease. We know that when the new heaven and the new earth arrive, that there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. As Christians, we have confidence that we will one day enter into that paradise. Therefore, we can say along with Paul, for us to live is Christ and to die is gain. Finally, we are called to be lights in a dark world. Now, how can we be set apart during a time of disease and confusion? Well, 1, we must not give in to fear and worry. We can and should remain alert and take sensible precautions to avoid infection or its spread. But we must also realize that worrying won't change our circumstances or lower our chance of infection. Worry won't help us fight off illness or move us to action. Worrying about coronavirus, or really anything else, will only increase trouble. Jesus said, "Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." Rather than worrying and being anxious, Jesus calls us to respond with prayer and trust in Him, displaying His peace which surpasses understanding. We need not worry ultimately because we know the one who has defeated sin and death. Also, we should offer the message of ultimate hope and peace. As people around us are in panic, we must adopt the same attitude Jesus had. When He saw the crowds, He had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. We should use these circumstances to share the good news of the gospel with those around us who are looking for answers. So leverage the relationships that you have. Reach out. Obviously, not physically reach out, use social distancing, but reach out to your neighbors, your co-workers, your family. Check in on them and give them the hope that we have in Jesus. And finally, we should love and serve those who are suffering. During this time, many will be faced with sickness, financial hardship, loneliness, and family burdens. The church has often stood out because of its willingness to offer help to others during times of disease, plagues, and pandemics. So rather than just asking, how do I stay healthy? Perhaps we should also be asking, how can I help those suffering around me? We're working on getting set up on our website two areas that you can go to right on the front page where it says, I need help, or I'm able to offer help, and then it'll take you further from there. But until we get that set up, you're able to call the church office if you know someone who has a need, or maybe you're just able to help, and talk to Renee and let her know. I'll end with this thought about something that I read this week. It said, because of coronavirus, many things will be canceled. Love is not one of them. Go be the church. Godspeed.